Hi, everyone. Looks like we have a good amount of folks jumping on here. Just give it a few more minutes. Thanks, everyone, for coming early and on time. Appreciate you. Hi there. Can everyone hear me? Sweet. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I look forward to this conversation. We're just going to give it a few more minutes, and it looks like some of y'all have already jumped in and started introducing yourselves in the chat. So if you haven't, feel free to, and it'd be great to kind of get a sense where everyone's from. So name, city, state, something else, since this is the election affinity group, would be great is if you guys wanted to also share, what are some of your interests for civic and political engagement? Are you a teacher, a researcher, a student reporter? Are you a youth organizer? Any bit of context about your interest in civic and political engagement would be helpful. And also, if there's any presidential, Senate, or House races, any election races that you guys are particularly interested in would also be helpful. But we'll just kind of give it a moment before we jump in. Thanks everyone for joining. Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much, Stacy, for being with us, coming from Washington, and I appreciate all the great work that you're currently doing. Thanks so much, Samantha, for checking in from Nashville, Tennessee. Looks like we also have Jinx Jones from Tacoma, Washington. Fabulous. Looks like Washington is representing. Christina from Portland, Maine. Fantastic. Then we have someone from Philadelphia, Goot, perhaps. Let's see here. Awesome, Phoenix. We've got Phoenix in the house. Philadelphia, ooh, fantastic. Yes, it looks like we have some people that's interested in a couple Senate races, and of course the presidential. That's so fabulous because we do have some resources for you guys that I believe you'll be pretty interested in. Thanks so much, Dan from Philly. Looks like we have a solid crew so far. We have Philadelphia, we've got some people in Maine, Washington, Tennessee, Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, fabulous. Thanks so much, Madison. North Carolina, Boston. Woo! We almost have a full house. We'll just give it a few more moments, and feel free to continue to check in on the in the chat there and introduce yourself. Well, looks like everyone, it's 2:05, so we're just going to jump in. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining and for introducing yourselves in the chat. This is going to be a great discussion about election and civic engagement, and really just kind of diving in on some of the different resources that we have for you guys. So for those that don't know me, my name is Adam Strong. I'm a Research Impact Fellow at Circle. So before diving in a little about Circle, I guess some of the things that I do is specifically work on field building strategies to really support and facilitate, other practitioners to integrate research-informed, best practice as relates to civic engagement and things of that nature. Here at Circle, Circle stands for the Center for Information Research on Civic Learning and Engagement. So we're very much focused on the civic and political engagement of young people, and we want, all young people to have access to, accessible, meaningful civic opportunities. And we're based at the Tisch College of Civic Life at Tufts University. So something that we kind of focus on in terms of our work is, really we research different things as it relates to youth interest and engagement and things of that nature. And really what we try to do is, publish research for practitioners. We're not very much into publishing academic research. We want to put, our resources and support behind practitioners, and we're hoping to that it will inform action and kind of build more inclusive systems, and thereby really, strengthening our democracy, right, where there's more equitable representation, more diverse youth voices, and our communities are able to thrive. So that's kind of the logic model behind Circle, and really how we try to do our work, being a research institution, but really caring about systems and trying to improve systems. So some of the objectives for this call. So we're really going to explore how to use our new data tool, Youth Voting and Civic Engagement in America. So it looks like this slide hasn't been updated. I apologize on that. So we're going to do kind of a deep dive on that data visual tool, which will allow you to kind of do a deep dive on any state, any congressional district, any county, and really look at some of the conditions that are shaping engagement. But before we get into that, I'm also going to kind of show you guys our Youth Electoral Significance Index. We call it the YESI, or in some circles, the YES Index. And it outlines all the different 2020 elections where young people could potentially sway the outcome, right? And it's based on a bunch of different measures and indices, but we'll go a little bit more into details on that. And first off, going into the Youth Electoral Significance Index, I know some of you guys were very much interested in different Senate races and different, and obviously the presidential race. So diving into more details on that. So what is the YESI, right? It offers really insight on the power of the youth vote, right? Sometimes we hear, narratives about how youth don't vote, or my vote doesn't make a difference, and things of that nature. But something that we found through research is that is completely untrue. And in fact, young people can and often do impact election outcomes. And within this tool, we outlined the top 10 presidential state, the top 10 state and district level House races where young people could potentially sway the outcome. And this is really a tool for identifying, special opportunities and needs to enhance youth engagement for the 2020 elections. Obviously something that we know from research is that those House races, those election races that are kind of most important in terms of politics, tend to be where campaigns spend most of their money and attention to, right? So some of the top YESI states and congressional districts will most likely be where campaigns will be spending a lot of their money. But as we all know, there's a lot of other communities out there that that vote and things of that nature, and we really need to think about expanding the electorate, diversifying the electorate, making it where all people have access to voting. And part of that involves campaign contact, but kind of diving into, what is the YESI? So let me just pull this up for you guys. So here is our homepage here at Circle. It's at circle.tufts.edu. So to get to the YESI, you can just go over here to explore our data, and then Youth Electoral Significance Index. So we're just going to click there. And I'm just going to give you guys a brief walkthrough to uplift, how we calculate some of these different indices. So here we have the presidential race, right? So we have the top 10 states where young people could potentially sway the outcome. And it looks like our number one state is in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Then we have North Carolina, Florida, Iowa, and so on and so forth, Arizona, Michigan, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Maine. So out of some of the participants, you guys have already kind of shared, where you're from and things of that nature. So it looks like, Maine is definitely on the top 10. It looks like Arizona is, Pennsylvania is as well. So some of these states are, are likely of specific interest to you. But as you can kind of see how we calculate this, this index, we use multiple different data sets and multiple different indices to really come up with this this index. So we part of the calculation involves facilitative election laws, right? What are some of the laws and state statutes that support and facilitate voter registration, voter education, and obviously voting, right? Automatic voter registration, same-day voter registration, some of those different things. We also look at electoral competitiveness. We look at, did this state flip from one year to the next? The population size of young people, young voters between the ages 18 and 24, levels of recent voting, turnout probability, and a lot of other different things. But I just kind of wanted to highlight this tool. And if you really want to dive into our methodology, you can kind of click right there. But without further ado, we'll get back to the presentation, and I'll uplift some of these other different top races where young people could potentially sway the outcome. Alrighty, so here we see that, let me just pull back up the chat box so I don't miss any questions you may have. So for the 2020 presidential race, we see that, again, here's the top states where young people could potentially sway the outcome. And if we look here on the Senate side, we also see that some of these same states are represented. We see the Senate race in Maine is also one where young people could potentially sway the outcome. We also have North Carolina. Again, Arizona is represented. Montana, Iowa, Alabama is on there as well. So, something that we kind of see already is that youth impact is across the country. Young people's voices can potentially sway the outcome across the country in multiple different states. Rural, urban, there's many rural states that's on this list. Something that we also see is the upper Midwest is kind of a powerhouse, right? We see a couple Midwest states there as well that's represented. And obviously Maine is on both of these so far. So is North Carolina. Iowa is on there as well. That's a big one. And here's some of the House races where young people could potentially sway the outcome. And what we notice is that, Iowa is also represented. Iowa 1st District, Maine is on there, Iowa 2nd and 3rd, Georgia, South Carolina. So there's a lot of states that are represented, some very rural districts. And something that, we kind of know is that each one of these states, each one of these congressional districts are built up of different counties, right? And each of these counties have their own conditions. They are shaping and facilitating engagement. It is really supporting and strengthening, access to the polls, high quality civic education, things of that nature. But some of these also has, weaknesses. And I think it's, important to also, we uplift something that we call growing voters, which is really kind of acknowledging that there's a lot of different strengths, as well as areas for improvement for every community. And something that we found out through research is that when young people turn 18, if they were taught about elections and voting before they reached 18, they're 40% more likely to vote. So that's something that we know in terms of just high quality civic education. So teaching definitely matters. I think there was a few different individuals in the chat that were educators, things of that nature. So there's a lot of different things that impact civic and political development of a young person. So something that we know from research. So we kind of talked about elections a little bit. We talked about different top races where young people could potentially sway the outcome. And something that we kind of know from our research and just previous elections is that most C4 organizations outreach to those who have previously voted before. So something new this year is that we have 4 million new voters that have just recently become eligible to vote, but they are also least likely to be contacted in terms of voter registration, mobilization efforts, and different things like that. So we see here that those contacted in 2016, or those who voted in 2016, were contacted 65% of the time, whereas those only 35 weren't. But those who did not vote, we see that 63% were not contacted, and 37% were contacted. So just because elections are very much driven by personal interest and other things of that nature, they tend to spend money and really engage and mobilize and work with previous voters. So it's really hard for those who perhaps aren't a regular voter to actually to kind of get in the system and things of that nature and be supported. Something else that we know is that in terms of voter registration, voter turnout was highest among youth in college, right? A lot of campaigns and things of that nature, they focus predominantly on post-secondary institutions, right? Because there's a high population density of young voters, right? So it's very accessible and things of that nature, so that we see that those who are in college tend to have higher voter registration rates. They tend to vote more, and a lot of that is because contact really matters, right? Those conversations about about a candidate, or just those simple reminders about voting and things of that nature, it makes a huge difference. But what we see is those that aren't in college are less likely to be contacted. So we kind of see some of these outputs and outcomes. And kind of tying this in is that we see dramatic differences in conditions within states. Not all states have the same conditions that are facilitating and shaping engagement. Not all counties have the same. And there's wide discrepancies and differences. We see that voter registration rates among counties in Florida, at the highest end, we have some counties having 89% voter registration rates. However, there's certain counties at only 44% voter registration rates. So there's a lot of differences that are going on in these individual counties. But if you just look at aggregate state level data, you're missing a lot of kind of what's going on the local level. Here's some more example at some of these different differences that you can see within a state. Child poverty rates among counties in Alabama. So on the, it can go anywhere from 10% to 68%. Broadband rates in Michigan, some counties have less than 50% of their population having access to high-speed broadband, whereas some counties in Michigan have 98%. We know that broadband is particularly going to be important in 2020, especially due to COVID-related things of that nature. A lot of campaigns are kind of shifting from, canvassing, door knocks, and tabling and things of that nature just because of potential risks due to COVID. So a lot of their strategies are moving online. However, not all counties have access to high-speed broadband. Not all families have access. So there's a lot of outreach and things of that nature that is potentially going to miss a lot of young voters, potentially new voters, and particularly those that may live in more rural or travel communities that don't have access to high-speed broadband. And with that, it's something that we often say and how we think about it is, we believe that all civic and political opportunities, they should be visible, they should be accessible, and they should be meaningful. And we see these three things really supporting and facilitating, civic and political engagement, and really the development of young people. And I think these are kind of three important things to ask whenever you're, working with young people, or, and things of that nature. Is this opportunity really visible, right? Or are there ways that we can kind of break down silos and increase people finding out about these opportunities? Are there ways that we can make this more accessible, right? Whether it's, public transportations or stipends for engaging, to kind of bridge people's ability to young people's abilities to actually show up and, and access these opportunities. And of course, we want to also make sure that these opportunities are, meaningful, that they get something out of it. And it's, it's just meaningful. So this is something that we really talk about in terms of a paradigm shift from really mobilizing voters to growing voters, right? Because there's a lot of different things we could do to kind of shape and facilitate the development of young people. As I said earlier, through previous research, we found that young people who turned 18 that were taught about elections and voting were 40% more likely to vote when they turned 18. And that's a huge difference. That's 40%, and that's just with some high quality civic education. There's a lot of different things we can do. And if we kind of shift from, mobilizing voters, just reaching out to those that have already voted, that we already have their information, right? They're already likely to vote, right? They're already on college campuses, maybe, and things of that nature. If we shift that out, we can really broaden engagement, include more young people, more people into the electorate, right? And with that, I know we kind of covered the YESI. We also kind of talked about growing voters. And now I was going to kind of transition, give you guys more of a tutorial about our youth voting and civic engagement in America, this data visual that will allow you to really take a deep dive into and explore, local communities of interest. But I just wanted to kind of create this space first to ask if you guys have any questions about anything I've kind of talked about so far, or the Youth Electoral Significance Index and anything of that nature. So feel free to put anything in the chat here. And I'll just kind of create space for you guys for a moment before moving on. Yes, fabulous. I can definitely share the link in the chat. Which link would you like? Would you like the link for this data visual that we're about to walk through, or the Youth Electoral Significance Index? I'll actually put all those things in the chat. Wait 1 second. All right, so there's the one for the YESI. All righty, so I'm just gonna, in terms of the this data visual, that I'm about to walk through. You know, some of this this tool can really be used by many different stakeholders, many different practitioners on many different levels. But some people that some audiences that may find this particularly helpful as advocates, right? It's a lot. You know, it can really support people finding and utilizing, you know, different data points about your community. You know, it's really great to be able to highlight different strengths, different great things that are going on in your community. It's also great to kind of leverage, you know, the need and the urgency for certain things, right? Because it has over 40 different indicators, over 40 different variables, over, you know, 40 different things are in this data set. So it should be pretty helpful. It can also help researchers, writers, and reporters, anything. You know, we use multiple different data sets and merge them into this one data visual to make it really easier to walk through. It's really good for, you know, policymakers and also, you know, funders to address root causes as well as symptoms, because it really helps provide a broader picture about what's going on in a community. Because, you know, one of the things that we all know is that, you know, the environment the youth grows up really matters, right? There's many different things that is supporting and facilitating or even hindering civic and political engagement on a local level. And there's a lot of things that are cross-cutting. And with that, we're going to take a kind of a deep dive into our this data visual. And I'm going to kind of walk through kind of my own county, just because you know, I think everyone's probably interested about, you know, where they live and things of that nature. But feel free, if you want to, while I'm walking through everyone on this, if you want to follow along, if you want to look up your own county or your own state or congressional district of interest, feel free to do that as well. But I just want to say that before diving in. So how would we first get to that, the data visual? So here's our homepage again. So over here on the top menu, we have Explore Our Data. So Youth Voting and Civic Engagement in America. Click on that, scroll down. And this gives a little bit more background about the data tool and some of the stuff that I've already talked about. Again, there's over 40 different indicators and includes data on the national, state, congressional, and county level. So you can find all kinds of different information about a local community and the conditions that are shaping engagement. All righty, wait one second here. So what we have here is this data tool. So we have youth voting and civic engagement on the left, and then conditions that are shape engagement on the right. It does have over 40 different indicators, which is fabulous, that you can explore on multiple different levels. There's some things that are missing on here, and we wish we could have included everything, but, you know, obviously some of our developers were already you know, kind of believe that we're already kind of, you know, going above and beyond. We didn't want to overload or saturate, you know, too many folks. So we tried to make this as comprehensive as well as, you know, something that wasn't too overwhelming for you guys. So something of note right here on your selecting your data set. So you compare all states or a specific state. If you look, if you compare all states, you can actually only click one variable to look at on the national level. So there's youth voting and civic engagement, or anything that's in this other category over here. But if we wanted to, we could look at, we'll say, voter registration rates for 2008. One of the best things about this data tool I'd highly recommend is there's a little I dot next to all these different indicators, and it provides a definition, so that can be helpful. So here, this is voter registration rates for young citizens ages 18 to 29, you know, who were registered to vote in 2018. We can just scroll down here and click data. So what we have here is now a map of the United States, and we have different voter registration rates, you know, across the country. And it's kind of very easy to kind of look on a national level. And I'm specifically, from Kentucky, and I see that Kentucky is dark green, so it's between, voter registration rates are between 80 and 100%. So if we look there, we see that voter registration is 83%. But this is on the national level. So let's look at, the county level and kind of see, what are some of the conditions that are shaping engagement locally. Let's see here. Big Blue, April Stanley. Yes, I'm a huge UK fan myself and graduated there. You're gonna love this then if you're from Kentucky. Let's see here. So we're gonna do a deep dive on Kentucky here. So as you'll notice, clicking on a specific state, we only have certain indicators that are available. If we look on the county level, I'm specifically from Breathitt County, Kentucky. So if we click there, we see that there are a couple different things we could choose from. So let's look at voter. So when you look on a more local level, you can pick up to 6 different indicators to look at one time. 3 things related to youth voting and civic engagement, and 3 things related to other broader conditions that are definitely impacting and shaping engagement on the local level. There's 3 on that side. Let's also look at, let's see here, 3 things on a local county level. We can look at medium household income, youth with college experience, that can be important. Let's look at nonprofits serving young people. We'll just scroll down here. One second. See data. So now on a local level, on a county level, we see that voter turnout's 26.3%. The national average is 26.2%, so it's about the same. The state rate is 27%, just slightly higher. Again, these little icons are fantastic. They provide a little bit more information. So this is voter turnout for those ages 18 to 29. And we actually see voter registration rate is through the roof, in my opinion. It's 93.4% for my hometown county. The national rate is only 61.5%, and the state rate's 83. Votes cast is 523. So we see this is probably a pretty rural community, and it is. But just from the data, we can kind of see that it's a smaller community. We do see some different conditions that are shaping engagement, right? We see that youth with college experience, it looks like we're below the national and the state rate. A medium household income is again less than half of the national rate and slightly more than half the state rate. Nonprofits serving young people, looks like we're above average, which is fabulous. It looks like there are more nonprofits that are serving young people. So it looks like even though our voter registration rates are above average, there's some conditions that are positive and kind of negative here on the county level. If you scroll down, you'll see that some related research. So this automatically queues up some more specific information that may be related to your county based on some of the different indicators that you've chosen or some of the different conditions that are shaping engagement. It has AmeriCorps and voting there because there are some local AmeriCorps programs locally, and it has another one about Youth Build. There used to be a Youth Build program there, so it populated that as well. But it's always great to scroll down and kind of see more information here. But let's continue to explore, right, some of the conditions that are shaping engagement, right? Again, you could do this with any state, congressional district, or county of interest, but I'm just walking you guys through this because just in a few minutes, we're really able to look at a lot of different things and kind of get a clearer picture about the local context that are shaping and facilitating engagement on the local level. So if we unclick some of these things, we notice on the, if we look on a state level, we have so many more options to look at, so many different things. And I think something of interest on the state level, we now have access to the political landscape, right? So some of the different indicators that relate to that. So we see that there is facilitative election laws, right? And if we click on that, we have a hyperlink about facilitative election laws. So if we wanted to learn more about that, we can just click on that link, and we have a full write-up that goes in depth on on different laws that facilitate voter registration and turning out and things of that nature. But that obviously that could affect voter registration rates. Statute on high school voter registration, that's something also that could affect. So let's kind of research that and look at that on the state level. And then we have another variable if we wanted to. Let's look at broadband, access. That's obviously, that's a big deal. And see the data. So it looks like we do have some state statutes on high school voter registration, which is fabulous. So if we wanted to do a deep dive and research that more, we could click there. So that's something that obviously could be supporting and facilitating this high voter registration rate for the state and for a lot of the different counties. We see there are some facilitative election laws on the book, 4 of 10. So if we want to research that more, there's a link for that. Broadband access, 84%. Obviously, that's only 5% less than the national average rate. But looking at an aggregate state level percentage, we know that there's a lot of other counties that potentially could be way less than that. So broadband could be something we want to look more into. But just within 5-6 minutes, we were able to kind of do a deep dive and look at some of the different things that are shaping engagement locally on the county. We were able to look on the state level and see different things that are shaping engagement. If we wanted to, we could do a deep dive and learn more about the different state statutes on high school, about voter registration, school voter education. We could look more into that. We could look more into some of the different laws on the book that is supporting that. This is really a tool that can be used to, for research and really building a better understanding, of the context that's going on all the different levels that are in a community. And if we scroll down, we see that, it provides a brief little summary of the state. This can be very, very helpful. There's also some tools here that I just kind of want to point out about this data tool. So if we could obviously, share it on Facebook, Twitter, hyperlink, or email. But one of the best things that I actually like about this data tool is we can actually download the data. So if you wanted to download this data that we just looked at, these specific indicators for Kentucky, if you click PDF, it actually downloads a very nice PDF document. Looks like it's loading here. But anyway, this makes for a great handout. We see here that if we wanted to, we see the map there. We see multiple different measurements. This is something that could be used in a classroom as a handout to kind of spur conversations, right? Have students reflect on it. This is something that could be used by different organizers during meetings. This could also be a 1 or 2 pager included with different meetings with different elected officials to kind of show them, hey, here's some of the positive things that are going on, but also, here are some of the things we could work on. So you can download it as a PDF. You can also download it. This is something else I love is the JPEG. So if we wanted to specifically share this out on Twitter, if we wanted to add this to a document or something like that, we have this nice image here that can really be used to kind of spur, conversations, about different things going on in community. And if you wanted to, you could also download the data as a CSV and Excel file, and you can make tables from that. So those are some things I just want to highlight. And obviously, if there's any data that we do have, anything that you saw here today, but you want the full data set, feel free to go to our website and message us. And we oftentimes, send different data resources and data sets and things of that nature, different people that are researching something or just interested, so feel free to do that. But something also I wanted to kind of pull your attention to is this take action button. So now that we've kind of looked at this data visual here, we have a lot of different resources and things of that nature for potentially different stakeholders, different audiences that could use this data set. So for K-12 civic education, we have different resources for potential classroom activities you can do. We have different resources for teaching data literacy and discussing youth civic engagement. We have a ton of different resources here for K-12 civic educators. Youth voting, again, we have a bunch of different resources here and different ideas for a lot of different audiences. So I really implore everybody, that look through and use our data set, our data visual, to look through this, especially if you happen to be, say, a journalist in the media or something like that, and you're looking for different ideas about using this data or navigating a particular point of view or story or something like that. So there's some different actions and things of that nature. So I just wanted to uplift and flag this, and now we kind of have about 9 minutes left. So at this time, again, if you guys have any follow-up questions, or if there anything that you'd like some more information on, most definitely let me know, and I can help you guys out with that. And we have more resources and other things. Let me just look at the chat here. Awesome. Looks like we have someone from Pike County, Kentucky. Appreciation. Shout out to you guys. And any other questions, feel free to put anything in the chat, and I'll see if I can unmute the group. Or could you do that for me, Whitney? I'm not sure if I have those privileges. But also let me know if there's any resources that you'd be interested in. If you are an educator, a nonprofit organization, or anything like that, we do have some resources that I could highlight and go into more detail. Or if you have any more questions about our data visual or the YESI, right? Some of those different states that can where young people could potentially, sway the outcome. Happy to go into more details about that. Got you. Thanks so much for that question, Christina. So Maine was one of the top YESI states. And I guess, what does that mean? So generally, all those different indices kind of uplift the fact that young people who could potentially sway the outcome on the state level, on the Senate level, and I think some congressional districts.
Anything else that we need to put on the agenda? Or do we have
Hey there, is that you, Whitney?
Okay. Great. So I'm gonna send you all the article from Renee. I'm going to fix the charts. I'm going to email them about the survey. Whitney already emailed them about the 20th, so that's done. And yeah, we will take it from there. All right, communications check-in. Anybody, anything?
I
About us. As opposed to the organization as a whole. On class in general.
I want to just say, I am sorry about the last couple weeks. I just, and probably the next week and a half, I've kind of like you were saying, Nia, earlier, my brain has been working overtime trying to balance everything that's been happening personally, in the world and professionally. And I haven't found that balance yet, so I'm just trying to find my footing. So I'm sorry if I forget something. If I do, please remind me. I'm just all over the place. Sorry.
No worries, and totally understandable. Did your mom end up getting a discharge today?
No, she was supposed to, but I guess the fluid on her legs are still, her legs and feet are still swollen, so they kept her another day so they can get rid of it.
Well, I hope, because I updated the shipping address to Michigan for your treat. Kaylee, whenever we finish the brief series, you will also get a treat. I didn't know that waiting until the end of the brief series was going to mean probably July, but whatever. Whitney, so somebody else at your granny's house, I don't think they might fight me if I try and redirect it again. Because I got this message that the order was processing, and that's when I reached out. It was could I change the address? And she was like, yeah, you must have me, but I have not gotten a notification.
Awesome. It looks like I am unmuted. Fabulous. So thank you so much, Whitney. I appreciate that. And you may, you're also off on mute. But it looks like we have this one question. It looks like someone's asking for specific resources for returning citizens that are voting age that may not have rights yet, how to engage others that can vote. I think we don't have any specific resources on that. One of the things that we've kind of noticed is that every local state has their own laws, regulations, and things of that nature related to restoring voter rights, and some are really on top of it and have a great process, while others don't. So my best recommendation on that would probably be to look at your local Secretary of State's office, look at their website, and look for different resources around that. Just because some processes for voter right restoration are fairly complex. Some of them, can be kind of cost prohibitive as well. So I guess I just want to flag that, to kind of look at your Secretary of State's office to kind of look, get more detail about that. Oh, okay. And then looking back up here to Christina, it looks like in terms of May, and you're a young organizer currently working for a youth employment program. So one of the things that the YESI could be uplifted for, especially since you're a young organizer and things of that nature, is that it could definitely be a tool that that you can kind of leverage with your young people to show that their voices does matter, and they can potentially sway the outcome. So I would probably uplift just the high ranking on the YESI, and probably wouldn't get too much into detail on some of the different indices that make up how we get that score, unless you want to do a deep dive on some of the underlying conditions that are shaping engagement and things of that nature. But that's one idea of how I would kind of uplift that. And thanks so much for your question, Queen Karen. Happy to support you in the way that I can, and If anyone else has any other questions, sorry about that little hiccup there earlier about muting and unmuting and things of that nature. But if you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the chat, or I'm also going to put my email into the chat as well. If anyone has any questions, again, you know, this is a tool that we can that you can use to kind of uplift that young people's voice does matter and they can impact elections. And if you want to do a deeper dive on any of the conditions that are shaping engagement on the state, congressional district, or even county level, you can use that data visual to kind of get a better idea and kind of support meeting young people where they are, and making sure that you know, our civic and political opportunities are, you know, accessible, transparent, and meaningful. And with that, I just want to appreciate everyone for their time here today, and I hope you have a great day and enjoy all your other sessions, and take care. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Stacy. I'm glad you're using the tool and you already love it. Fabulous. See you guys. Take care.